Hello, everybody. Good to
Hello,
see you. Good to see
happy
you.
Thursday to
To you.
everyone. Um, that's our
Right.
little friend.
Right.
Our little friend. Who's waking up another friend? But we're gonna ignore our little
All
friend. They're a
right.
little busy. It's been storming, so they're hanging out with us on the inside. But happy Thursday to each of you. Welcome to Pillow Talk Time, and we're talking about budgets.
Talking about budgets. Talking about budgets. I mean, we've been talking about coming into agreement and what's been holding a marriage back as we've been spending this time on. And last week we gave you some powerful tools that will help your marriage grow, help your marriage develop in the area of solving the money problem. But this week we're going to kind of give you some nuts and bolts. Now we're gonna, like we tell people all the time, when we get together, when we put together our marriage seminars and different things, when we put these things together, everything that we always tell you guys is a blueprint, right? I remember we had our home built here where we live here in Georgia, and we had our home built. Um, they gave us a blueprint of how the home should look, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then my wife took that blueprint and she said, "Well, I like this, I would like that, I want this moved around here, I want that moved around there." You have to take the blueprint that we're giving you, okay, and you have to apply it to what you like, what works
Mm-hmm.
for you, what works for your marriage, what works for your home, what works for your life. When you there are certain principles in a marriage. It's this is the law. Okay, this is the law, and one of the laws of marriage is agreement. Okay, so you
Wow.
have to sit down and you have to come into the law of agreement. You have to say, okay, we got an issue, we got a problem, we got to fix this, we
Yeah.
got to fix this
You
money
got to
thing.
get on the same page.
Right,
There's power when you come together. That's why doing a budget is so important.
right.
And my husband
Should
said,
I have my hat on?
sit down. It's up to you. Talking about sit down and come together. I know that there are many tools, and sometimes you might, everybody's putting information in this tool and you just share it, whatever the case may be.
Right.
But you got to make sure that you're on the same
The
page.
same page when it comes to money, and that's one of the laws, and that's the law of agreement. We coming into an agreement and say, hey, we need to that we can't keep doing the same thing. I'm gonna talk about that a little bit tonight. We need to come into agreement. Now you listen to these principles. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
give you some principles that you need to listen to. Then you take these principles and then you apply them to your situation. It may not look like what Kim and I did. It may not look like what A, person B did, but the law that will bring you the victory is the law of agreement.
Yeah.
Us coming in, looking at the same thing, and coming into agreement. So that's what we've been talking about. And the reason we're using the scripture of agreement, because the Bible says, where there's two coming together, touching
Touching
anything.
anything.
Listen to that word, anything. The Bible says it shall be done. It said will be done. It said it shall be done. So if you want to change your financial situation, if you want to change the financial landscape of your family, it's sitting down, coming into agreement. So last week we closed out with a powerful statement. We said, here's the balance that you should have when it comes to your money. Number one, you should save some of it, you should give some of it, and you should spend some of it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're going to pick up at today, because when we closed out, we never told you how much you should save, how much you should give, and how much you should spend. We're going to give you a formula that we kind of use. Now, we're going to give you a formula to start with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But as you grow into this, the formulas will change. It'll change. It'll become, you start putting more money towards other things as you go. Go ahead.
And I will say this as well, and that's the beauty of a budget. A budget is nothing but a game plan. A budget is telling every dollar where it needs to go.
Right.
And so we have some general percentages that we use. And if you follow financial planners, sometimes they deviate. It depends on your philosophy, maybe where your goals are in terms of risk and things of that nature. But what I wanted to say, because a budget is a plan, that it could shift. Those percentages may adjust. There might be certain times of year, holiday time, around a birthday, a special event, or a special occasion, that you may shift one of those percentages somewhat.
Right.
But a budget is nothing but a game plan.
That's all it is.
And what you will find out if you've done a budget, and anybody that has really done a budget out there, that you put it out, and sometimes within the month you might have to shift. Things come up that are unexpected.
Yeah.
Things come up that you did not calculate, and things of that nature. But it's that game plan, it's that blueprint, it's those fences that you put in place.
Honey, I'm just glad you said that, because you're thinking about a game plan. I used to coach football, right? And we have a game plan. We go into the game.
Mhm.
We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to call this play. We're going to operate this. We're going to do this. And you said something that was very key. You said, and in a game, you could plan out the game.
You can plan it out to the best
But
of your ability.
something's going to happen that you didn't expect.
Mhm.
And when that happens, you go back to the game plan.
And
right?
you figure out what you need
Exactly.
to do.
If we're backed up, this is what we're going to call. If we need a big play, this is what we're going to call. If we're from behind, this is what we're going to do. It's the same thing in your finances.
Well,
That's
can
what the
I
game
add
plan
that?
does. Yeah.
And let me add this, because there might be some young couples out there, new couples, newly married, or whatever the case may be. And usually in a relationship, you have one person that is stronger with, as it relates to the financials, so the numbers. And I want to encourage you. I just felt, don't get discouraged,
Right.
because when you're first starting out with a budget, you're still trying to figure out things, and you're still trying to, because maybe you just never really paid attention.
Right.
Maybe you just swiped and you never really thought about it. Like, how much do I really spend in gas a month?
Mm-hmm.
How much do we really spend in groceries and supplies? Or I never thought about entertainment, or I never thought about whatever your categories are. And so until you get into the routine of it, it's going to be trial and error. I remember when we first started doing budgets, and I would have to tell my husband, I said, look, sweetie, and I love numbers. Oh, I love a budget. That is my sweet. I just love it. I absolutely love it. I could do it all day. I just love it. And so I was trying to get my husband to understand a budget is giving every dollar that comes to the household a name. And so we would do the budget. And when we first started out, the ends didn't.
We're going to get there. We're going to give it.
Well, I got to tell him. I got to tell him about you.
Yeah.
When we first started out, the ends didn't meet.
Right.
They would look at each other. One end be like, this is what we made and this is what we owe. And so I would say, honey, you got to write everything out. I don't care what the picture looks like. And so, we make out the budget, and I'm just going to pick on one area. And see, right now he doesn't have any hair, but he used to have hair back in the day.
Yeah.
And so we make the budget out, and I look at it, and if, my husband, he believes in grooming himself and things like that. Love that about him. And I look at the budget and I say, honey, you didn't include the barbershop on there. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm just going, I'm taking it. No, sweetie.
Yeah.
If you're going, unless you got money coming in from somewhere, I don't know. If it's coming out of these resources, these checks, that we're counting in the budget, you got to put it on there. Mm-hmm. No, I say, all right. And then I finally got him to put the barbershop amount on there. And then I say, you going to give them a tip? Mm-hmm. You have to give every dollar. And you're tricking, you're fooling yourself saying, well, because he didn't want it to make the numbers look bad, but it is what it is, because I know you're going to still go spend it. Right. So now you're undermining the effort. But anyway, I just thought I'd tell them about that.
That's a good point. And it goes into what we're going to talk about tonight, is giving every dollar a name. But before we go into that, I want to ask you a question. Do y'all know the definition of insanity? Do you know the definition of insanity?
I do know.
The definition of insanity. Go ahead and tell them the definition.
The definition of insanity is pretty much doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Doing the same thing
over and over and over again. You know the outcome, but you have a different expectation. It's going to be different this time. It's going to be different this time. And we see so many married couples. That's what you're doing.
Yeah,
right?
the same thing.
You're doing the same thing over and over and over again. You want, man, Lord, how come I can't come out? God, what's going on? You haven't changed anything. Mm-hmm. You're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and you're expecting something different to happen.
Completely different.
And it's never going to happen.
Can I give them another example? So I'm telling on us. I'm making fun of us. So
we preach out of our pain.
So let me tell you. So early on in our relationship, in our marriage, when we would do a budget, again, the ends didn't meet. So we sit there and try to map everything out and map it out to zero because we've given every dollar a name. So much is going to savings, whatever the case. But back then we didn't really send anything to savings. And we got a little notepad, we were racing, trying to make it work. And we would sit down and put groceries down. Now you can look at us, we eat.
Yeah.
We eat. And to make it map out, groceries be like $10 a month. Knowing good enough well.
Yeah.
We was gonna eat. And so we was just lying to ourselves. We did this on a piece of paper so we could say we did it, but we were lying to ourselves. So it's just insanity until we was like, you know what? We not gonna live off of $10 a month groceries. Right. We're just not gonna do it. It's not gonna happen.
So one of the first things you got to understand about this thing, now guys, listen, now this is gonna sound real old school. It's gonna sound real old school, but what you're doing is not working. What you're doing is not working. Okay. So you got to do something different. You got to change the course. And the first thing I would tell couples to change is, number one, you can't be married and use roommate principles. You cannot be married in agreement and together, but you using roommate principles. I had a roommate when I was in college. Did you have a roommate when you was in college?
I did.
You didn't? I'm talking like when you went to your apartment.
No, I didn't do apartment roommates.
Yeah, well, I had a roommate when I was in college, right? I remember, Fred, we moved into an apartment together, right? And and in that apartment, okay, we would say, you pay the water bill, I pay the power bill, you pay this bill, I pay the bill. Do you know married couples are married in agreement, trying to build wealth, trying to do this thing together, trying to build this vision together, and they splitting bills down the middle like their roommates. You pay this bill, I pay this bill, you pay this bill, I pay that bill. Guys, that's not going to work. In a marriage now, in a marriage, that's not going to work. You're going to have to change your mindset about money. You're going to have to change your mindset. You have to change your mindset. So what do you mean by changing your mindset about money? It's no more his money, her money. You got to change your wording. And it has to be, these are our bills. This is our money. You got to change your mindset. You cannot use the same words that you were using that you would use with a roommate. My roommate, Corey brought his money to the table. Corey, you use your money, you pay that. I bring my money to the table. I'm going to bring my money to the table, and I'm going to pay this. And that's what we're doing in marriage. Go ahead, honey.
Well, and that's the reason it's so important. We talked about this in another session. Before you getting married, because you guys got to talk about things, because I know that people come from different situations.
Right.
Some people are coming into, and people like different terminologies. I'm just going to say a blended family. People like different terminologies. You might have had children before you married your current spouse, or whatever the case may be. You might have been in an abusive relationship where you're like, I have to have control, whatever the case may be. But you got to talk about it.
Yeah.
So you guys can figure out, what does that look like for us that we are building together?
Exactly.
What does it look like for us? Sometimes, and I don't know, like I said, people come from different situations. Somebody might have to pay child support or this or that. What does it look like for us?
Right.
We gotta talk about it so that we are on the same page, working on the same goals, the same dreams. We're a team. We're in this thing together. Because let me say one other thing. So you got to talk about it, because people bring different dynamics to the table. That's the first thing. The second thing is, in a marriage, it should be us together. And one of the challenges with that roommate mentality, besides from just, not working together, is, and I've heard couples say, well, my stuff is paid, and you got one spouse that's stressed out and the other one that's not. Huh?
Right.
His problem should be my,
I don't have no student loan debt. No, you're no more two. You became one flesh. You became one. Her problem is your problem, and your problem is her problem. Guys, that's the only way you're going to move the debt. You have to come into agreement to move the debt out of your way. You cannot approach this situation separately. You gotta approach it together. Why? Because I'm preaching now, one can chase 1,000, but when you come into agreement, listen to that. If you would think in the natural, the scripture says one can chase 1,000, but two, 10,000, right? It seems like it said one can chase 1,000. And then when two come together, we should be able to only chase 2,000. But that's not what the scripture is saying. It said when one can chase 1,000, but when both of y'all coming together,
you kick it into overdrive.
You kick it into overdrive. That's the only way the debt, the situation is going to change. It's not going to change being roommates. It's not going to be changed. Well, I'm going to do this with my check, and then you do that with your check. I'm going to do this with my money. It's not going to change. And listen. Kim and I understand that we're not called to everybody. We understand that, and we are cool with that. But what I'm trying to tell you is that you have been trying it your way.
And your way has
and you're
worked.
Broke. You have been trying it your way and you're struggling. You have been trying it your way. How do you know? Now, Kim and I'm going to tell you how my wife said you got to sit down and talk about it. We never had a problem with bringing the money together. We never had a problem with that. Kim would bring her money to the table. I bring my money to the table. Here's what our problem was. See, now my next one is you got to sit down and talk and figure out now which one of us is good with numbers. And you just got to be honest. Listen, if you know you made C's in math, chances are you're not good with money. I mean, well, that's kind of bad. I shouldn't say that. But if you know
if you're good, if you're good with numbers or not.
You know that.
If you don't like looking at numbers, it don't
if
make sense.
If you can't balance your own money, and see, that was me. Okay, so let's go back to the story of me and Corey. You know, we got evicted. Me and Corey, not me and my wife, me and Corey. Because I was trying to pay stuff in. We're paying stuff. So here's the thing. But my wife, she just trusted me, being a great, thank you for trusting me. And we would sit down, and I wasn't good at that. That was not my strength.
But having conversations, because he says I trusted him. But I was going to say this, not this is our situation, but some of you might say, well, my spouse isn't good with money, or my spouse, maybe there's some type of abuse or something. Yeah. Go get some help. You need to get some help.
Go get some help.
If there's abuse or somebody's controlling, it's a difference in let's sit and talk about it, come on the same page, and somebody's trying to control and manipulate you.
And then listen, you can't be defensive either. You can't have the mindset that you're trying to be controlled, when in actuality, we're trying to put some fences up.
Because you swipe. Remember you got
and see, that was my thing. And we preach out about pain.
When the check dropped,
I said, you ain't gonna tell me what to do with my money. You ain't gonna tell me what to do. I'm gonna do. I worked hard.
Such a good time.
I deserve to have. Listen,
and you deserve,
and then
within parameters of what you can do.
Keep them folks out your business. Family folk, keep it out your business. Because folks in my family, y'all know who y'all are. Y'all tell me, so your wife run you. She control you. She tell you what to do. Here I am listening to that mess, bringing that mess back to my house. And all my wife was trying to do was build fences. All my wife was trying to do was get us out of an apartment. She wanted to get us out of paying rent. That's all she wanted to do. But be listening to them old men. Y'all know y'all are. Tell myself, don't let your wife run you. You need to control everything. Well, first of all, here's the problem with that. How did they know my wife was controlling the money? You know how they knew? Because I was talking about it. Stop letting people in your house. Stop letting your kinfolk in your home.
Sometimes
your home is sacred. It can be your homies. It can be your friends. Guys, listen, you got to sit down and have a heart-to-heart, chest-to-chest talk. Hey, listen, I ain't good at that. I trust you with that. Now, here's the thing. Here's the powerful thing. You may start off one way, and then eventually you'll change, because I begin to see the benefit
Mhm.
in saving, the benefit in putting some money aside. I begin to see the benefit in it. And then you may become stronger in there. But guys, you got to sit down and talk. Now, we know that there's abuse out there. We know that there's control out there. We know that. Okay.
And nobody's telling you to submit to that.
Don't submit to
or
that.
someone has some type of addictive or destructive behavior.
But don't be like Peanut.
That's a different situation.
Don't be like Peanut now. You know, my wife said she married two people. She married Bishop Johnson and Peanut. Now, Peanut, back in the day, you know,
I had to crucify.
I had to crucify the flesh. She said, honey, I'm not trying to control you. She said, I'm your biggest cheerleader. One time she told me, she said, honey, all I'm trying to do, and I remember this was way early part of the year. She said, all I'm trying to do is save you from public embarrassment. I'm trying to save you.
I'm trying so you can have something.
So you can have something.
You can live life in dignity.
Yeah, you got to. Exactly.
Hold your head up.
Hold your head up in dignity and pride.
I did say that. I said, when you get to the end of the, I said, I want you to be able to hold your head up.
You want to be able to hold your head up. You want to be able to hold your head up. Man, you got wives running out here.
You can't hold that box
giving,
of Popeye's
giving
chicken.
husbands whole checks to the church. Telling some Lord didn't heal them, and then gave all the savings away. And then they got to come home and tell that man that who been working hard trying to save that. My guys, you can't. Listen, y'all got to talk about that stuff, man.
You got to talk about it.
Y'all got to talk about that stuff. And it didn't hit you, and it didn't hit your husband. And it didn't hit you, and it didn't hit your wife. It's going to hit both of y'all. It's going to hit you. See, I know about church folks, see, and they blame everything. They bring all this foolishness on the spirit. So, all right, let's give you a formula. Did you make the last point you want to make?
Yes.
Okay. Let me give you a formula. This formula is what my spiritual father shared with me. And my spiritual father is Apostle Calvin Washington, a powerful man of God. He always said he came from the cotton fields to the courthouse. God took him from poverty to wealth. And I listened to people that had amassed wealth. I haven't listened to a whole bunch of people that got a whole bunch of ideas. Everybody got ideas now. Everybody got ideas. I remember one time, we only got 3 minutes. I mean, one time, can you remember?
I'm looking because I can't see the clock.
Yeah, we went to that workshop, and the guy was trying to tell me about those stock tips. How he can remember that?
I said, "Get me up out of here." He can guarantee you. Yes. He can guarantee it was a pun. It was a scheme. He can guarantee your return. I said, "Honey, no, they can't do that. Get up, let's go."
Let me show you why you got. That's why you got to sit down and talk with each other. I didn't even know that was against the law.
Kim
told me, she said,
he was finna sign up.
She said, that's against the law. You can't do that.
You're not.
God, you got to talk about money.
You got to talk.
All right, so here's the formula my spiritual father shared with me. We won't be able to go into all of the depth of it today. We'll be able to share a little bit about that on next week. Okay?
And can I add before you give the formula? And this is kind of, he was setting up like this is a base. You know, as you grow, you might contribute more, because when you first start out, you have more sometimes discretionary expenses, but as you've worked for a while, you know, some of the initial things that you had to purchase, you don't have to purchase like that or as frequently. So you might be able to contribute more to savings and contribute a higher percentage to giving.
And I wanted to share something with you, and this is on camera. This is my wife's first time hearing this. I had a speaker to come to my class on yesterday, and she talked about how when she first moved to the country, she became a millionaire. And she shared something with me I want to share with you. But she was saying you should put 25%. Now, I never heard of this before. No. It was 15 and 10. That was hers at 15. Remember I talked about the 80-20 rule? Mm-hmm. And so she was talking about 25% of your money should go towards investing. I had never heard of that before.
But you got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere.
Anyway, so
here's the formula my spiritual father shared with me. And I'm going to share with you.
As a starting
place. Now, we told you, save some, give some, spend some. He showed us those 3 things. He said, save some of it, give some of it, spend some of it. Those are 3 things you should do. So how much should you save? He told us, he said, you should aim to save. Now, you heard the word aim. You should aim to save 20% of your income. Now, whether that's off the gross or whether that's off the net, you have to figure that part out or where you are. Do I want to save 20% of the gross, 20% of the net? Now, I believe saving 20% of the gross because it's your money. It's yours. It's your money, man. And you don't need to be taking all this time away from your children, all this time away from your family, and don't have no savings. You need to have at least 20%
You need to have some cushion.
of your income saved. Now, he said that is an aim. You may not start there, but save something. Save something.
Don't give it all away.
Don't give all your money away. Save something. Number two,
Or don't spend it all away.
give 10% of your income, whether it's off the gross or whether it's off the net. Now, you're going to probably give more than that. That's fine. But we're just showing you as a base. Now, here's another thing. Oh, man, we're way over, Kim. It's 26 minutes.
Oh, well, let's get ready. Come on, give me your last point.
Okay, but I want to talk about this giving, this 10%, because, see, some people are not at the point where they can give 10%, but I want to talk about, I may talk about that next week,
Yeah.
how
no
you
problem.
can work towards that. You know what
You
I'm
can
saying?
talk
You can
about
work
that
towards it
next
because
week.
God is graceful. You
Mhm.
can work towards that. So your budget should start at 70%. That's where you should start your budget. You should look at all, after you taking you off the top, your 20%, put that in saving. Now, saving, that 20% of savings should be saving and investing. That's what the lady was saying.
Mhm.
Savings and investing should be in that 20%. And then 10% towards,
Now, 70% is for the remainder.
the remainder.
From housing, cars, groceries,
That out of that 70%.
insurance,
And that's a lot of money.
vacations, whatever the case may be.
Your barbershop.
Your barber
I ain't know
shop,
70%. I ain't know the barbershop.
your your snack money, whatever the case may be.
And
it
you know
should
what,
come out
Kim,
of
when we
that.
started doing this, we used to use the envelope system. You remember the envelope?
Mhm.
So we used to have a whole bunch of envelopes, Oh man, I tell you, my wife used to give me my haircut money, and she'd give me like a $100 bill. And this when I had hair, right? So $100 bill.
For the whole
See,
month. I
Kim and
learned very quickly, don't give him the whole envelope for the month.
Well, here's the deal. We've been in education for so long, so we've always been used to getting paid.
Yeah, but he can
at the end of the
he
month.
couldn't get the whole month.
So
envelope.
she gave me
No.
because people said $100 for a man haircut. Well, that's for 4 weeks. 20, 40, 60, 80. If you give them a $5 tip every time you go,
Mhm.
25, 50, 75, 100. That's $100,
Mhm.
right? It was so hard for me to get that barbershop. That man $100.
He come back after the first week, and then we got to wrap up. So we gonna. He come back
Okay.
after the first week, and I'll be like, "Okay, give me back your envelope. I'm gonna put it aside for." And I'm like, "Your envelope is empty." Oh, I stopped by Krispy Kreme. I said,
To my- yeah.
"Okay,
And
all
then,
right."
and then I ran
Lesson
out of haircut money. So
Lesson
then she
learned.
started saying, listen, 25.
And then he'd be like, "Let me get some of that grocery money." I'm like, "See,
25, yeah.
that ain't what we
But
said."
now you got Cash App. You can move stuff to your Cash App now.
That's a
And all
help.
that kind of stuff.
But the
what I'm
principle
saying,
still applies.
the principle still applies, guys. Save some, give some, spend some. Try to save 20%, give 10%. Start your budget at 70%. We'll talk about next week everything that should go into that budget, and then we'll also talk about how to get to that 20%. Because sometimes you're not going to start off at 20%. That's tough. I understand it because we tried it.
And maybe some people can. Some
people can now.
But everybody.
Some of y'all some ballers, baby.
But that might not be everybody's
Right.
story. But all right, guys, thank you so much for joining us this week. Have a good, great, wonderful, outstanding, and phenomenal week. And we'll see you on next week.
God bless.